What is up, everybody? It is your local Ottawa fan, and today I'm going to talk about the 4-2 win against New York. A huge win. This really was like a must-win game. It felt like that anyways, especially because this one was the difference between still being in it, still being very much in the race, especially now that we actually know what the playoff format is, and I'll get into that in a minute. But this game was the difference between very much being in the playoff race and basically being out of it. Had we lost this game in any fashion, New York would have been multiple games ahead of us. Boston would have been multiple games ahead of us. We would have been squarely in 6th place, and there would have been basically nothing we could do. We would have to get multiple wins over multiple teams in half a season, not even. Instead, we pull ahead of New York. We are 2 points behind Boston. They do have a game in hand, but we play another game on Saturday. We play Toronto, and this gives us the opportunity where if we win, yes, Boston would have 2 games in hand, but a regulation win would still give us more points. It would force Boston to do something, and that still would give us the ability to have some control over our season moving forward. If we can win against Toronto, we can force our opponents to actually have to win games to keep up with us. And I think the other big thing, I've said it before, Minnesota and Montreal, they've had our number all season. We have not beaten either team once. I think it's 3 regulation losses, 3 overtime losses. We just haven't had answers to those 2 teams in specific. To Boston, New York, and Toronto, we've had answers. We've now won 4 games, lost 2 in regulation, lost 1 in overtime. And like I said, that overtime loss probably should have been a regulation win. We really blew it that game. I feel like 9 times out of 10 we would have won that game in regulation, but we just didn't stick with it. We didn't finish off the job. But nonetheless, our record against non-Minnesota Montreal teams is fairly decent. We actually play pretty well. So hopefully, as we face Boston more, as we face New York more, as we face Toronto more, we can really make up that space. And I think Toronto, this is a big one. First off, Toronto is on fire right now. They are on a hot streak. They look unbeatable. And yet, if you can remember at the start of the season, who was the team that beat them twice? It was us. If we can come back, and even though Toronto's looking hot right now, even though Toronto's looking good right now, and we've had a bit of a rocky first half of the season, if we can still win, this would be huge. This could make it evident that Toronto would be scared of us, that Toronto would say, oh, Ottawa has our number. And this could be good because, well, as I'm going to get into now, the playoff system, I like it. As we all pretty much expected, it is the top 4 teams. It is a best of 5 series. The first 2 games will be the top seeded team will have home ice advantage. The next 2, the lower seed team will have home ice advantage. And if it goes to a game 5, no surprise here, the top seeded team will get home ice for that winner take all game. But whoever comes in first in the league, whoever finishes the league standings in first place, will get to choose their opponent. Now, I've heard some people say, oh, well, they'll always pick whoever is last. They'll always pick whoever is last. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I do think that, yes, if this was a 20, 30, 40 team league where there's a whole bunch of teams and like half of them make the playoffs. Oh, yeah, like 16 teams make the playoffs like in the NHL. You're going to pick whoever's last. But I think in a league like this, where it's so tight and there's only 6 teams, let's say we beat Toronto every single time we face them. Toronto goes 0 for 15 when it comes to getting points against Ottawa. We just completely have their number. And they finish first in the league, and we finish 4th. We barely make it to the playoffs, and they do it quite safely. I could see a reality in which they would say, yeah, we want no business in that. We don't want to face the team that's had our number all season. We don't want to face the team that's so consistently beat us in the regular season. It also does provide the opportunity for the best team in the league to say, you know what? We want to face the second best team. We want to get this out of the way because, we figure we're going to have to face them anyway. Either in the finals or now, let's get rid of them so that we have an easier opponent in the finals. That actually makes a lot of sense. Personally, that is what I would do. If I was the head of, the top team in the league, my decision would be take the second best team. Take whoever is going to be the tougher opponent because you're probably going to have to face them anyway. You can't just trust some other team to take care of business. And also, you don't want to do that. You don't want to give another team the opportunity to face the tougher opponent, to beat said tougher opponent. And now you come into the finals having beaten the easier opponent, and they go into the finals having beaten the tougher opponent. That can give them momentum. That could be the difference. Personally, I'm someone where it's like, if you're the best team in the league, take the second best team in the league out. Because at the end of the day, if you want to be the champion, you got to take them out at some point. So get ahead of it. Do it right out of the gate. Don't trust somebody else to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be in the same exact situation. But in either case, obviously we'll see whoever the league first place. I don't want to say league winner. The league winner is whoever wins the playoffs. But we'll see whoever comes in first, what decision they make. I do think it's fairly likely that they will just pick whoever is in fourth. And the other thing is the draft system. Once a team is mathematically eliminated, every game afterward will be points towards the draft. Again, I've heard some criticism on this. And again, I think in a 6-team league, this is so different. Yeah, sure. If you've got a massive league like the NHL, bad teams are going to be really bad. And they probably are going to not make a huge difference that they had, 5 or 6 extra games to try and get points towards the draft. But with 6 teams, only 2 of them will get eliminated from the playoffs. So what will likely happen is whoever finishes dead last will get eliminated with 3 games left max. They'll probably get a win. I could see actually a situation, a fairly possible situation, where we go into the final game of the season. Nobody's been eliminated from playoff contention. Right now, for example, if the final game of the season was 14 games. Well, New York wouldn't be out of it. They still could theoretically catch up to Boston. Ottawa wouldn't be out of it. They could still theoretically catch up to Boston. Boston wouldn't be out of it. They're currently in 4th place. But also, Boston could lose their next 2 games. Ottawa could win. Boston could lose their next 2 games. New York could win. I could very much see a situation where nobody gets eliminated until it's too late, until there's no games left. So that's actually what I'm more interested to see. I imagine it'll just be whoever finished in last will just get it. They will technically have been eliminated first, and even though they didn't get any draft points, maybe because of being eliminated first, they win. I think we'll find out. I don't think this is something that's going to happen, but something that could happen. The more interesting thing, though, is once you're eliminated, games still matter. You still need to win if you want to have good draft capital, which all prevents tanking entirely. If you want to not lose your job as a GM, well, you need to have good draft picks if your team doesn't make the playoffs. How do you do that? By winning games. So you still need to try and make a competitive team. Because if you don't do that, you aren't going to win the games necessary to get the first overall draft pick. And to get the first draft pick in every round afterwards. So that will become very, very vital, especially because it will ultimately come down to a dogfight between 2 teams. And yes, if you're really bad and the team that, comes in 5th barely misses the playoffs, by virtue of being really bad, you'll get a lot more games to get a lot more points. I like the system. Again, I don't think it wouldn't work in a bigger league. I think that, in a 6-team league, though, this is a really good system. I really like it. Best of 5. Oh, and above all else, I mean, we all kind of assumed it would happen, but it's been confirmed 5-on-5 overtime until somebody scores in the playoffs. Oh, yes. That's the playoff hockey I remember. That's the overtime that we all tune in for. Look, 3-on-3 overtime is great. It really is. I mean, it is fantastic in terms of the speed and the space. Everybody gets chances. But anybody who's watched a playoff hockey game that goes into overtime, you know that that's something special. One thing that I do not like is a champion being decided, like a league champion being decided on what is effectively a mini game. And obviously people feel this way about shootout, but I do feel about that when it comes to 3-on-3 hockey. It's a very different game with very different strategies. And you will oftentimes see, half your roster not even touch the ice in 3-on-3. Even if it was 20 minutes long, it would take a much longer time for everybody to get a shift. And by the time your first line is off and rested and ready to go, your fourth line probably hasn't had anybody need to go on the ice. Your first line is ready to go back out there. I think that crowning a league champion based off of a 3-on-3 overtime goal or a shootout is just a terrible idea. If game 5 of the finals was decided on a shootout or 3-on-3 overtime, I think that the loser of that game would spend the rest of the offseason saying that was the worst. That is not a good way to decide the league champion. That was a fluke. 5-on-5 till somebody scores. That's it. That is the best way to decide who is the better team. If all else is equal, if you go 3 periods and you're tied, all right, just keep playing. Whoever scores first wins. I really like the playoff system. I really like the draft system. I think that for a league that has 6 teams that are all relatively good, honestly, anyone could win. Anyone could. I could see New York winning the championship. I could see Boston winning the championship. I could see us winning the championship. Just because they're lower right now doesn't mean that they can't win. And also, playoffs are a different beast. You could have a terrible, terrible regular season, barely make the playoffs, and then in the playoffs, you're just a whole new team. We've seen it happen before in the NHL. No reason why it couldn't happen in the PWHL, especially when you only need to win 2 rounds. You don't need to go all 4 rounds. You just need to upset 1 or 2 teams, and that's it. You've done it. You're the league champion. So, yeah, no notes on the draft system, no notes on the playoff system. But let's get into the game. First off, we get an early goal, and it's kind of a funky little goal. Savannah Hartman, she gets a shot off. I don't think anybody really realized it immediately. It just sort of trickles into the net, just barely goes in. Their goaltender, noticed and tried to sweep it away. Actually, that's when I was not sure if it was a goal, and then I saw the replay and I'm like, is it a goal? And then you see the goaltender kind of very obviously grab the puck inside the net, and you're like, oh, there's the puck. It's obviously inside the net. That's a good goal. And after review, it is determined that indeed this is a good goal, and Savannah Hartman gets the scoring started on a very weird goal. It just sort of trickles in. I found this very funny because we get a lot of good chances in this game that we don't score on. I think I counted 3 chances where we basically had an open net and missed, and yet this is the one that went in. Hockey is such a wonderful and weird sport sometimes. You will have a perfect chance, a chance where 9 times out of 10 you score and you don't, and then you'll get something like this that's like 1 in a million and it goes in. But nonetheless, it does go in, and we're up 1-0. New York did try to push back a little bit, but we matched them. We played a very physical first period. I thought our first period was amazing. We were so aggressive. We were so physical. We laid the body on them all period. A lot of chances. So many chances. No goals. Definitely through the first period, we looked like the team that had the edge. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Like I said, it was the first period where we had multiple opportunities on what was effectively an open net. We did not score. And it kind of gave me that gut feeling of I've seen this story before. You know, it felt like we were the better team. We snuffed out scoring chances for New York before they had scoring chances. You know, so many opportunities where like, oh, they break in and it looks like they might be able to get a look, and before they even get a shot off, we've gotten the puck back, we've blocked the lane, we've laid the body. There was this one opportunity. New York was in front of our net, trying to get the puck back, and Ashton Bell, just full physical force, just dislodges New York completely from the puck and just like moves them a foot or two and then gets the puck for herself. Like, New York just couldn't get anything going. We were getting scoring chances. We weren't scoring though. And at the end of the day, sure, no scoring chances feels a lot worse than having scoring chances and not scoring. But not scoring versus not scoring is still not scoring. We have a 1-0 lead, obviously, but I couldn't help but think I've seen this story before. Ottawa had so many opportunities to have a multi-goal lead in the first, and I can tell you in the second, it felt like we had the opportunity to bury them in the second, and we did not bury them. They go into the third very much alive. I'll get into the second, but there were times where it felt like this game should not have been nearly as close as it ultimately was. At the same time, a win is a win, and I'm not going to sit here and complain about how we got the win. We got the win. So yeah, we looked better through the first period. We take a late penalty in the first, where we go into the second up by 1. And Maschmeyer, again, really good. She had a few good saves in the first. The third period is really where she shined the brightest, I found. But, you know, she, again, a solid game. I feel like saying Emrance Maschmeyer had a solid game, it's like, no duh. Like, she basically always does. And this is just a classic example of, yeah, Maschmeyer played really well, but I'm not going to sit here and say she stole us the win, because frankly, this is a game we 100% deserved to win. And finally, this time, we locked it down. In the second period, we had a good kill to start the second, and immediately, we take another penalty kill. And another kill to keep us up by 1. That's what we're thinking. We just need to stay up by 1. And we actually get a few shots right after that penalty kill. Levi eats them up, but 2 penalties, 2 penalty kills. And it's like, you want to bury them, you know, and you don't want to give them these opportunities. You don't want to keep taking penalties. When you're up by 1, you've been playing better. The last thing you want to do is give them that chance, that opportunity to get any life, to get back into this game. And we have another opportunity where open net and goes wide. I feel like if we scored half of our goals where we had like a close to open net, we'd be a top 2 team in the league. And another penalty. I mean, the second period, we ended up killing so many penalties. Yes, one of them we initially got in the first period, but we spend a good chunk of this period with special teams. And we'll get into the second half of that and our other special teams in just a minute. But it was, you know, it was giving me like this sense of dread. Like, if you keep giving them the opportunity to tie it on the power play, they will tie it on the power play. This was our best penalty kill by far. Lexi Adjia has a great chance in the penalty to end it early. And it gets saved, it gets stopped. But we get another opportunity. Both of them, they were like 2-on-1 fast opportunities. This time, it is Fanny Grant Gasparish. First goal for the PWHL. She locks it in. Somebody call ACDC. We got a jailbreak here in Ottawa. It is 2-0 Ottawa. And again, nothing is a bigger momentum swing than a jailbreak goal. Looks like New York might get back into it. It's like we're giving them the opportunity. We're like dangling it on a string. Hey, get back into the game. Get back into the game. And then we score a jailbreak. Not only are you not back into the game, you're actually in a deeper hole than before. And this penalty kill was like our other penalty kills were good, but this one was great. This one, not only did New York not generate anything, but before we scored, we generated chances. You show this to somebody who's never seen hockey and say, hey, who is the team that has a power play? They'd say Ottawa. Great penalty kill, and it immediately gets undercut. And while, yes, it technically counts as a giveaway in our own end, this is nobody's fault. The stick broke. It was because of a broken stick. We just can't catch a bounce. Like, you want to talk about unlucky. Your stick breaking in your own end on, like, a nothing play. This is just the hockey gods saying, you know what? Let's make this a game again. And immediately, New York is able to tie it up. Or not tie it up. Get within one. I apologize. They get within one. But it's such a fluky goal, you know? And that's exactly why I was so scared being up by only one. All it takes is one fluky goal. All it takes, again, is one fluky goal. A broken stick, and now it's a one-goal game again. You want to have a safe lead. You want to bury a team so that one or two fluky goals won't do anything. And we get the opportunity to put this game to rest. Amanda Boulier gets hit from behind by Rourke. It was dirty. It was unnecessary. And worst of all, it was dangerous. And we get a 5-minute major. Rourke out for the game. She was shocked. She was surprised. I saw it live. I saw it on the replay. No excuse. Dirty hit. Deserved a major. Everyone in that stadium knew it deserved a major. I am so happy that Boulier was fine. I'm so happy that Boulier is one of the biggest reasons why we ultimately put the nail in New York's coffin this game. But that was a dangerous, dangerous hit. And it gave us a 5-minute power play. And this is a 5-minute major. Jailbreaks don't happen. Does not matter if New York scores. They will still be on a penalty kill, which also means they will probably play a far less aggressive penalty kill. Not to say that, you know, you're going to play a super aggressive penalty kill, but in the PWHL, yeah, if you get an opportunity to score on the penalty kill, it ends the penalty. You go for it. You know, if it didn't end the penalty, then you'd also be thinking, well, yeah, even if I do score, we're still on a penalty kill. And if I mess up, you know, they got a power play, you know, maybe I got to cool it a little bit. And that's the mentality you have to have if you're killing 5-minute penalty. And we do nothing. This was the most painstaking part of the period. With about 7 minutes left, we get 5 minutes of power play and we get nothing. Nothing. We didn't even generate great chances. New York neutralized our power play. They really did. They even got one chance on it. Mind you, we did get like a few, but you know, nothing great and nothing sustained. And a 5-minute power play, you know, you expect that even if you don't score on a 5-minute power play, which you should score on a 5-minute power play, but okay, you don't, whatever. You should have momentum. And instead, we go into the third, and even though we were up by one, I felt gross. Like, this is the worst I have ever felt with a lead going into the third, because I'd seen this story so many times. I'd seen the story of, yep, we've been the better team. We've played better. I know where this is going. Like, that's what I felt. You know, at the end of the power play, Clark had a good chance. But other than that, I was thinking, don't do this to me again. And the other thing, too, is, yeah, we can go ahead of them if we win in regulation. If we don't win in regulation, if we just win in overtime, they're still ahead of us. We're still last in the league. And that third period, that first half of that third period was awful. New York was faster, they were stronger, they were hungrier. They played so much of that start of the third period in our end. They were pushing us around. They reminded me of Ottawa in the first period, that really good team that probably should have had more than one goal. And that one goal they did get was really weird. And again, I'd seen this story and I was like, when teams do that to us, they typically do score when they keep applying pressure. And we take our fourth penalty of the game. And this time New York does make us pay for it. 11 and a half minutes left. And we take a penalty. And I kept worrying about, oh man, if you give them just a little bit of momentum. And this third period, they were looking good. We weren't able to generate much of anything. Even when we would stop them and get the puck to their end, we wouldn't do anything. We generated nothing. And then we give them a power play. And it did look like they tripped us and then scored. It did look like they probably got away with one. But whether or not there was a missed call on the goal, that sinking feeling was just... like, I hated it. I was like, how many times do we need to see this story? We were playing unorganized. We were playing sloppy. It was a very different team than that confident team that I saw in the first period and in the second period. You know, even though, yes, we had a bit of penalty trouble in the second period, we had that jailbreak. And that 5-minute power play, sure, it didn't necessarily generate goals, but it wasn't like New York was walking all over us like they were in the first period. It felt like we were trying to survive, not win, but survive. Now, we do finally get something going. But with less than 5 minutes to go, defensive giveaway leads to a goal. But then I'm like, wait a minute. New York was on the defense and they threw the puck right to Amanda Boulier for some reason, even though she plays for us. And Amanda Boulier, great play with a pass to Hughes, who came up huge with the goal. Wait a minute. New York was the team with the defensive. We're the ones that scored a clutch goal. Gabbie Hughes goal. Ottawa leads 3-2. And the energy shifted. Everything changed. Not just because, oh yes, we're back, that team that needed to face adversity faced it. This is a clutch goal. This is a less than 5 minutes to go goal. This is the type of goal that we normally give up. Oh man, we're getting momentum back. We're going to do it. Oh, bad giveaway and then a goal. This was for us though. Gabbie Hughes has been getting a lot of clutch goals lately. I'm now starting to see some players where I'm like, you know what? These are the players that you bet your chips on when all else fails. Daryl Watts, Gabbie Hughes, and Katerina Mrazova. We have so many talented players on our team. But if we're in overtime of the playoffs, those are the players I want on the ice. Those are the players I want to see because they're the players that can score the big goal. And that's been an issue for us in the past. And this is why it felt so different. Because when we scored, despite not looking great in the third period, despite New York coming out faster, better, stronger, despite New York tying the game, they were down 2-0. They came back, they tied it on a power play. And what do? We take a minute, we calm down, we say we are still the better team, we've still played better for a majority of this game, and we get a huge clutch goal. We wait for New York to make a mistake. It was just a bad decision. They try to throw the puck out of their end. They don't see Amanda Boulier is waiting. She is right there. She sweeps in, grabs that puck. She's got daylight, and so what does she do? Makes sure that she absolutely fools all of New York, including their goaltender, gets it to Gabbie Hughes, and of course, she's going to play a big move and score a goal that nearly blows the roof off of the TD place. We aren't done, though. We still have to survive the rest of the game. And New York, oh man, they throw everything at us for the rest of the game. Maschmeyer's coming up with save after save, and with less than a minute to go, about 30 seconds, one save by Maschmeyer, a second save, but the puck deflects. New York has a wide open net. They take the shot. Ashton Bell comes up with a huge save, and Harmon knocks it out of harm's way. Maschmeyer recovers, and next thing you know, it's Lexi Agia shooting it all the way down the ice, and it's like in slow motion as you just see the puck slowly trickle into the net. Lexi Agia, empty net goal. That one will ice it. As always, Ottawa has to win by multiple goals. 4-2 is your final. And that's it. We have now won a clutch game. That was a huge goal by Gabbie Hughes. A huge goal, if you will. Doesn't sound good saying it, but I'm sure, writing it down, it'll look a lot better. But this is what I've been asking for. The clutch goal. And in a game where, yes, we had so many opportunities to ice it by scoring on the empty net, they kept with it. They stayed with it. And when we needed a big goal, when we were facing adversity, when New York gave us some pushback and actually got back into the game, even though we definitely should have won the game, we said, you know what? No, we are going to win this game. And they did. And then they had a huge defensive stand. And they played super well. And Ashton Bell with the player save of the season so far. I really don't even think there's a debate. That felt like that should have tied the game. And Ashton Bell, ring 9 bells on that one. What a save. What a play. What a finish. And we're right back in it. Now all of a sudden, we are just barely behind Boston. Now all of a sudden, we've got an avenue. We've had Toronto's number. We've played them twice. We beat them twice. We played Toronto 5 times this season. Which means, if you're logical about it, we are 1 win away from sealing up the Battle of Ontario. That'd be real nice. Sealing up the Battle of Ontario and putting us in a playoff spot? That sounds good. And this is a team that needs to start facing adversity and winning. Toronto is red hot right now. If we can be the team that ends their winning streak, if we can be the team that looks Toronto in the face and says, no, you listen here, we own you. That could shake up the league. Minnesota, Montreal, they've had our numbers. So let's show these other teams. Let's show Boston. Let's show New York. Let's show Toronto, who has their number. This, hopefully, is a turning point and not a blip. This is a game that you can really build on. I know I've said that about our other wins, but I feel like this is different. Because this had all the things that you wanted to see. Yes, okay, we missed some of those big open net chances, but we stuck with it and we scored the big goal. We played a better game, a much better game. Maschmeyer looked great. The big goals came. We played smart. Build on this. Because if you build on this, I don't know if anyone will stop us. But if you don't build on this, if this is a blip on the radar, it's going to be a long rest of the season. Second half started. So we've played 13 games. This is second half of the season. We are squarely in second half of the season territory. So let's win some games. And as always, go, Ottawa, go!